What's up, y'all? Welcome to Friday Morning Chapel. My name is Coach Wood. If I've not had the opportunity to meet you yet, if I haven't met you, stop by B205 up in the high school, the new upstairs. I'd love to say what's up. I'm always outside my room in between classes, so I'd love to just dap you up and see how you're doing. But hey, listen, I know this is weird. This is our second week doing chapel from your classroom, and I know that's really strange, but you know, I'm thankful we've got the resources to do this. I'm thankful that we've got smart boards in every classroom and you can see what's going on from there. And I'm really thankful for Mr. Hardy and for Ms. Garner for fostering this time together and for being faithful to the Lord, even in something that looks pretty crazy. So thank you, Mr. Hardy, for allowing me to chat this week with you guys for just a few minutes. I'm not going to talk long. But I do want to share something with you guys. It's a special story to me, and the Lord brought it back to my memory this week. Actually, a couple days ago, I was talking with my 7th period creative writing class. Shout out to the crew. And this story came to my mind about Jesus calming the storm in the boat with his disciples. You guys know the story. Jesus is taking a nap in the boat, and a big storm comes up. Disciples are freaking out. They're like, hey, yo, Jesus, what's the deal? And he literally calms the winds and waves. But I want to read it to you in case you've not read it for yourself before. It's in Mark chapter 4. And let's read it real quick. And as we read, there's two questions I always try to ask myself when I'm reading about Jesus specifically. Number one, what does this story tell me about the person of Jesus, right? Because we want to strive to be like Jesus, always. And unfortunately, Jesus, the God, his level of perfection is not something we can ever really obtain. But Jesus, the person, was both fully God and fully man. He was a human. His humanity was very real. And so I think that when we study Jesus in the Bible, if we ask ourselves a question, what does this story tell us about Jesus, the person? It can give us something to aspire to and something to aim for. So let's read. And as we read, think about that question. What do we learn about Jesus, the person? Mark chapter 4, verse 35. It says, that day, when evening came, he said to his disciples, let's go over to the other side. Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along, just as he was in the boat. There were also other boats with him. A furious storm came up, and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, Teacher, don't you care if we drown? He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, Quiet, be still. Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? They were terrified and asked each other, Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him. What a story, man. And I think this story is really important for this time in America, for this time in our own community, for this time in our world. 2020 has been a crazy year. We've had it all. We've had, and are still having, a global pandemic that is much bigger than America. We have so much civil unrest. People are hurting. People are sad. People are scared. We've even got murder hornets, y'all. This year has been the year from Hades, okay? And so I thought this story was really appropriate to examine and see what truths we can apply about the person Jesus to our time. So let's get started. The first thing we learn about Jesus, the person, is that he is a doer and he is a goer, right? That's not a word, I don't think. I should know, I'm an English teacher, but I don't think it's a word. Miss Felipe, is goer a word? I don't know. Anyway, sorry, y'all. I'm recording in my classroom after school, and so the intercom might come on. Anyway, but Jesus is a doer and Jesus is a person who goes. His work is never finished. Earlier in Mark chapter 4, Jesus and his disciples had already been preaching. You've got the parable of the lamp. You've got the parable of the sower. You've got the parable of the mustard seed. They're working all day. This is what we see Jesus do from the time he's 12 years old in the temple. He tells his mom, he's like, hey, mama, didn't you know I'm going to be doing my Father's work? And so he works all day long. And then he gets on the boat and he says, hey, we're going over there. More work to do. I don't know about y'all. Y'all stay up till ungodly hours. 9 o'clock. I've worked all day and then jumped on a trampoline with my little 2-year-old son and then hang out with my wife for a little while. 9 o'clock, you can forget about it. You can catch me in my PJs quick in the bed. But Jesus is saying there is work to be done. I'm about my Father's business. The first thing we learn about Jesus is that he is a man of action. The second thing, which may seem initially like it contradicts the first thing, but it does not. They go hand in hand. Jesus appreciates the value of rest. It says, on the way to the other side of the lake, Jesus was on a cushion asleep. Rest is so important for us. And I'm not necessarily talking about physical rest, even though sleep is important, and most of y'all need to get in the bed and put TikTok down, or whatever it is you do all night. I know the new Call of Duty just came out. Go to sleep. But that's not what I'm necessarily talking about right here. I'm talking about resting with the Lord. Getting your tank filled. If we are doing the Father's work consistently, you should be emotionally and mentally and spiritually spent. You should be tired. You have to rest. You have to get your tank filled. If you are not actively seeking discipleship and mentorship, and you call yourself a follower of Christ, you really need to prioritize that. If you're not sure what that looks like, or even what I'm talking about, come ask me. I'd be happy to talk with you more about that and how it can benefit you in your life as a Christ follower. The third thing we learn about Jesus, and this one's kind of like, duh, coach, Jesus knows all things. Past, present, future. And that should encourage us as believers in Christ in the year 2020 that Jesus is not surprised by COVID-19. Jesus is not surprised by civil unrest. Jesus is not surprised by murder hornets. Jesus knows all things. He is not scared of all things. The fourth thing, and this may be my favorite. No, it's not. The fifth one's my favorite. The fourth one's very important though. Jesus is the ultimate authority. He answers to no man. He answers to no democracy. He answers to no monarch. He answers to no storm even. Jesus is the ultimate authority. And when he said, it is finished, it really was. And the cross was enough, and the cross is enough. And Jesus, because of what he did on the cross for us, can speak into the storms in our life, and he is the ultimate authority. He can say, peace, be quiet to our storms, and they have to listen because he is the ultimate authority. And I've changed my mind. I don't know if this is my favorite one, but this is probably the most important one. In this story, we learn about the person of Jesus that he does not attack people. He attacks problems. Jesus is an issue attacker, but he does not attack people because people are not the problem. Our battle is not with flesh and blood. Jesus does not attack people. And if there's anything that the church really needs to get right in the year 2020, it's that people are not to be attacked. We need to be an issue people where we attack issues with the same love and the same authority and the same gentleness as the person Jesus. So once we see these things about the person Jesus, the second question we need to ask ourselves is, what do these things demand as a response from me, a Christ follower. When we hear this story, what should happen inside of us? Well, the first thing that happens after this story is we must be in awe. We must be awestruck by the power and the authority of Jesus. You think about a guy, okay? You think about a guy, Jesus, who can literally say to wind and waves, right now, in this moment, Louisiana and Texas and that whole Gulf is getting pounded by hurricanes, okay? Now, that stings, and I hate that. But we do serve a God who speaks to the wind and waves, and they obey. So, Coach, why do hurricanes happen at all? Why do people get displaced from their homes at all? Because we live in a fallen world. It was not the original plan. But just because bad things happen does not change that Jesus' authority does reign over wind and waves. The second thing that should happen as a response in us is that we must have faith. Listen to this. The disciples said, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" Guys, I know you have problems. I know that just because you're 12 or just because you're 14 or just because you're 17 or 18, you are not immune from problems. Your problems might look different than my problems. Actually, I'm certain that they do. But I know that you guys have your own storms. How many of you have asked, Jesus, do you even care? Guys, it's okay. It's okay to ask that question. The disciples asked. They said, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" Guys, I know. 2020 has been a hard year. I still haven't gotten over Kobe, all right? 2020 has been rough. I get it. Jesus cares if you drown. He did not get angry at them for asking that question. Now, he did demand a different response from them later, right? He says, "Why are you afraid? I need you to have some faith." But he did not reprimand them for their lack of faith. He encouraged them to have more faith. The last response that this should elicit from us, the Christ follower, is that we must show Jesus to a broken world. How do we do that? Y'all, our world is hurting. There are so many different communities in our world that are scared, that are hurt, that are just straight up sad. What are some tangible ways you can show Jesus to people? We hear that all the time. Go be the hands and feet of Jesus. Yes, I get it. It's biblical. But how? How do I be the hands and feet of Jesus? The first thing you can do is listen. Just listen. Y'all, Christians talk too much. And I am one. But we just talk too much. Listen. The whole book of Proverbs can be summed up as sit down and hush. Read it and tell me that you disagree. The second thing we can do is love. What does that mean? I think the main thing that I'm trying to get across to you when I say love is love without an agenda. Don't love to save people. Love people because they're human. You can't save them anyway, and neither can I. And that actually takes a burden off of us because we don't have the authority. We can't speak to storms and they stop blowing, right? But we can love without an agenda. We can listen and we can love. And that's how we show Jesus to people, the guy who can calm the winds and waves. I think the third thing we can do is be slow to have an opinion on everything. I'll repeat that. The third thing we can do, be slow to have an opinion on everything. You don't have to have an opinion on everything. That's another thing Christians do. They just have to talk about everything. You don't. You don't. Not according to the Bible. You know, Jesus asked way more questions than he did declarative statements in the New Testament. Way more. Just listen. Just love. Just ask some questions. Proverbs. Sit down and hush. Fourth thing we can do to tangibly show Jesus to people, choose kindness. I think so often we are obsessed with being right. R-I-G-H-T. We are obsessed as a culture. This isn't specific to Christianity. This is American culture. We are obsessed with being right. Be kind. Man, I want to raise a son. If you guys know my little dude, Liam. Oh, look at there, what a guy. If you guys know my son, Liam, dude, he's crazy. Okay? We're working on him, but my little man is crazy. But my main goal for him is that I raise a son who's kind. Now, I want him to be informed. I want him to use his voice for good. I want him to be intelligent. I want all the things. I'd love for him to play at Georgia, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. He's probably going to be about 5'8", like dear old dad. But the main thing that I want for him is I want a son who's kind. And if he's kind, and if he follows the Lord, I don't care if he works at 7-Eleven his entire life. If he chooses kindness, I think I did okay. The last thing we can do is be humble. Jesus said that pride goes before a fall. Actually, guys, Jesus didn't say that because it's in the Old Testament. But the Bible did say that. The Bible says that pride goes before a fall. Guys, as followers of Christ, we must show humility. We must. Because the world doesn't need our Christianity as much as they need our Jesus. And nothing turns people off more than pride.
Could I please have Chloe Rogers from the elementary office to check out? Chloe Rogers.
Perfect time, because I need to wrap up. A recap of ways that you can tangibly show Jesus. Listen, love, be slow to have an opinion on everything, choose kindness, and be humble. That's how we can be more like the person of Jesus. You don't have to calm people's storms, because you can't. You can't do it. But you can love like the person Jesus. And you can do it in a tangible way. Here's a challenge for you this weekend. Find one person, I don't care who it is, neighbor, your homeboy that doesn't go here, whatever. Find one person this weekend and ask them this question. What's it like to be you in 2020? And then just listen. See what happens. Listen, man, I love y'all like crazy. I hope you have a good Friday. I hope you got something out of this. If you didn't, man, then just love like Jesus, all right? I'm going to catch y'all later.